Our next speaker up is going to be Alex. Alex, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, there you are. All right.
Hey
Perfect.
guys.
Hey, welcome. Welcome. Where are you calling in from today?
Thank you. I'm calling in from Charleston, South Carolina, and
Okay.
we've had one of your classic farming days today. Radiator hoses have blown, thunderstorms have come at the wrong time,
Looks like
and
you're you're still out in it, it looks like.
yeah, I could get dumped on any second. But
Could be interesting.
I was planning on being on a nice computer at a quiet location, and the farming world throws crazy things at you sometimes. So here I am in a parking lot on my phone instead.
Okay. Well, we're glad that you made it work. Yeah,
Thank you.
we definitely know how to be adaptable in this industry, right? We wouldn't survive if we weren't. So,
Yeah, we
but no,
have to be.
let's
We have to adapt.
we will we'll alter your presentation, but let's run with it.
Yeah,
Alex.
thank you. So I won't have any fancy slides or anything for you guys, but I have a heart full of desire to see farmers succeed, and something that I've been able to tap into over the last couple of years is sales and marketing strategies, and that really work for farm to consumer type of folks, direct to consumer farms that sell directly. So that's what I'd love to talk about today. Um, I
Yeah.
just I just apologize. I don't have my fancy slides, so I'm going to be going off the rip here today. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is if you're going to be selling direct to consumer, you need to know your top customer, your most ideal customer, and how you're going to market to them and not waste a lot of time marketing to people who want to be nitpicky about, let's say, what kind of cuts you have, if you're in the protein game, what kind of vegetables you have in season. But the main thing is about price. If you have customers that are complaining about prices and comparing you to grocery stores, then those are not going to be our ideal customers. Those are not going to be the kinds of people that we want to really be spending a lot of time marketing to. So I have my top three marketing folks that I try to spend most of my energy on. My number one customer is about 85% of my business goes through this one person. I call her Suburban Sally. She's a 35 to 55-year-old mother. She has young children in elementary and middle school, and she wants to feed her family the most nutrient dense presentation possible. Sorry guys, I don't have the presentation on my phone, and I'm in a parking lot, so I'll have to send the presentation later. I
Yeah, that's
apologize about that.
yeah, that's fine. And if you get it to me, we can share it with those. And probably if you want the presentation, go ahead and text back to the group chat, and the team will pick up on that, and we can send it back to you. So if you're in a Google Drive, whatever we need to do, we'll make it available, Alex.
Yeah. Okay. When I get it when I
Hmm.
get back to the farm, I will send
Yeah,
it.
we get it. We get it.
Yeah,
You're good.
I'm outside of our farmers market right now. So my team is running the market stand for me. So I'm all the way in town right now.
I
Um
like it.
so okay. So um I find that if I spend most or all of my marketing energy on the mothers of young children, then I'm going to be wasting very little time. Okay. In my marketing efforts, I'm going to be hitting some other outside groups that will want to buy from me as well. The main ones that we have, like my number two customer, is the CrossFit couple, I like to call them. These are people who take care of their bodies, they put a lot of attention into their diet. And so they end up caring a lot about the kind of food that they eat. So they're going to be looking for clean, local sources of food that's going to help them grow physically. And so if sometimes I will talk to farmers in some consulting sessions, and we'll talk about different places that we can strategically put materials. I'm talking about flyers, brochures, business cards, email sign-up sheets, things like that. And my main place that we want to put stuff in is where those suburban moms are going to be going. So if you have a suburban mom, she's looking for local food, she's probably going to be shopping. We can't do advertising at places like Whole Foods, but we can find independently owned grocery stores in towns that are usually very small. They probably have some supplements and some local produce, and these are kind of like hippie grocery stores. Each town usually has 2 or 3 of these places, as long as they're big enough, big town, small city, they're going to have places like this. That's my favorite place to put marketing materials in. My second favorite place is a gym. If it's a locally owned, all your CrossFit gyms are locally owned. You're not going to go to Gold's Gym. You're not going to go to these big places. But if you can find Orange Theory, CrossFit, locally owned gyms, these people are usually very receptive and love having relationships with farmers. The nice thing about once you start building these relationships with these local businesses where you're going to be placing your marketing materials is that you may be able to use them as a pickup location. If you've got a direct to consumer business where you're selling proteins or produce, having pickup locations in town is very convenient. It'll get you a lot more customers because you're not going to have to ask all these people to come out to you. So those are my, I'm go back to my top 3 customers. We have the suburban mom is number 1. She's the ultimate customer you could ever have. She's going to spend the most money with you consistently. Second of all, you've got your CrossFit couple. Then you have your chefs as your number 3. We use chefs sparingly because we're a pretty small farm. Revenue wise, just to give you guys some context, we're at about $500,000 in revenue each year right now. So we're definitely we're not way up there polyphase size, but we're not a homestead either. We're somewhere in between. So we try not to do as much wholesale because it really, really shrinks your margins down even more. And we all know if we're a direct to consumer business, we're dealing with pretty tight margins anyway. So we've got chefs and we just use them for, let's say we have 1,000 pounds of beef bones that came back from the processor. Or if we have a ton of livers and hearts and organ meats. If we've got, several hundred pounds of chicken drumsticks, stuff that, suburban moms don't usually buy. You're going to be sold out of chicken breast all the time because chicken thighs, chicken breast, ground beef, pork chops, the kind of regular cuts that people want to eat. You're going to be sold out of those a lot, but you will have off cuts. And one of the hardest things to do is to move those off cuts, especially if you're in the protein game, or if you're in produce, you'll have ugly produce that you need to move as well. So we rely on chefs for those kind of situations. And I have a golden rule for finding chefs that want to work with you at farm to table restaurants. My rule is that you're going to have to call 16 restaurants to get 1 sale through a chef. So you have to put a lot of work in on these cold calls. If you have the chef's number, that's great. But if you don't have the chef's phone number, you're going to have to make cold calls to the restaurant. And here's my golden rule. You're going to call the restaurant Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and you're going to call them from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Any other time, they're either not at the restaurant or they're prepping for a dinner service and they do not want to be talked to. So if you call during those hours, you should be able to get about 1 sale for every 16 phone calls. It's not a great ratio. That's why they're not my number one customer, but they will help you move a lot of your ugly produce and your offcuts. And it is a useful relationship to have. Okay. So we have our top customers. I'm just checking my time. I'm doing good. Okay. Then we want to talk about what's important to these customers. And I'm going to be spending the rest of my time talking about these suburban moms, and the way that they shop and the things that they want to buy. When you're a suburban mom, you're busy and your life is pretty hectic. You got a lot going on, but you really, really care about nourishing your family. So you're going to try to find the healthiest food possible, but also you're going to prioritize convenience. So when you're making your cut sheets or when you're making your crop plans, you're going to want to prioritize different cuts and different types of produce that are going to be easy to work with. I know we can tend, as the farmers, we kind of want to always be expanding and growing our operations and what we produce and what we sell. But sometimes we can do ourselves damage if we want to try to have 30 different tomato varieties and some kind of squashes that people have never heard of before and get really wild at different types of things. Or maybe we want to try to do buffalo. So we like to prioritize easy to work with cuts. So we're not going to get a bunch of crazy options. We're going to stick to very basic cuts. We're talking about chuck roast and all the steaks that your ribeyes, your New York strips, a lot of ground beef, a lot of chicken breast and chicken thighs. You don't want to try to ask too much of your customers because you're trying to attract a very certain type of customer. And this lady, whoever she is, I call her Sally, whoever she is, she wants convenient, easy to work with, clean food. She doesn't need it to be fancy. She doesn't need it to be exotic. She needs it to be something that she can defrost at 3 p.m. because she forgot that she was doing dinner prep. And she needs to make spaghetti and meatballs for the kids that night, but she doesn't want to use Walmart ground beef. She wants to use your ground beef. So we want to be able to make sure we have options for her. Next, we want in our marketing efforts, we want to use words that are going to ring home with our customers. We like to think about our farms in our own terms, but we need to be able to switch our mindset to be able to think about what's going to be important to the suburban mom when she wants to shop with me. Okay. Is she going to care that I'm biodynamic, or is she going to care that I am no spray? Is she going to care that I rotationally graze, or is she going to care that we do grass-fed beef? Okay. Is she going to care that we use a different kind of chicken, like a Freedom Ranger or a more like exotic type of broiler? Or does she just want a Cornish cross that wasn't fed a bunch of antibiotics and raised in a factory somewhere? I find that a lot of farmers end up trying to get the fringe customers instead of honing in on this base of people who cook at home, who want to support a local farm, but they don't want to cook a chicken that has really tough breast meat because it's a heritage exotic type of chicken. Okay. They want clean food from a regenerative farm that is going to be easy to work with. That's the thing I hammer home with a lot of my clients that I do consulting with, is you got to just stick to the numbers. If you want to do exotic stuff on the side, that's fine, but make your baseline, make your main thing that you do stuff that a mom could work with. Moms care about the words local, organic, no spray. They care about sustainable, and there's probably 2 or 3 other words on my presentation that I can't remember.
Is regenerative a word that they understand?
I'm
Or is that
starting to see it.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we're starting to see, I think, thanks to a lot of the documentaries that have come out in the last probably 3 or 4 years, regenerative has really been a word that hones in with people. And I love using that as my main word now because it tells people that what you do is good for the animals, good for the soil, good for the environment, and it's a healthy product for people to eat. It works with ecosystems and it's beneficial in every area of your whole agricultural practice. I'm seeing regenerative work now, and I even have people who can't pronounce the word regenerative trying to use it because they feel like that's the word to use right now because organic's been, we all know organic's been messed with, it's been co-opted, and it's organic is losing trust with people. And it seems like regenerative is kind of taking its place. People are figuring out that you can have an organic Tyson chicken house, and so they're leaving organic as an important word, and they're more leaning towards regenerative, pasture raised, sustainable, no spray. Even just saying no chemicals, no spray. If you've got broilers, pork and chicken like I do, those words alone can be great. So when we make our marketing materials or we do our social media or our newsletters, we want to use those words on a very consistent basis. I find the temptation because I do a weekly newsletter, which we can talk about if we have time. I find that if I stick to the basics on what I do on my newsletters, social media, and I have consistency across the board on my messaging, that if I continually use the words local and regenerative, those are my two words that seem to be the most powerful and with the most punch for me. It answers 100 questions that people might have, and so those are the words that I like to use. And I always keep in mind with one note on social media. It seems like, especially Instagram and Facebook, these guys are only showing your content to about 5 to 10% of your followers. Now, it may be a different 5 to 10% each post, but don't be afraid to repeat yourself. I find that when I look at the Instagram accounts that have over, let's say, 500,000 followers, it's almost the same thing over and over and over again. And what these people are doing is they're mastering the art of marketing to a specific customer base that they are looking for, and they're using repetitive verbiage to reach new people. It's counterintuitive because you would expect that you'd have to come up with something different and new every time. But if you think about it, Instagram showing your content to only 5% of your followers, and then the next post you get a different 5%, and then the next post you get a different 5%. The third group never saw your first post. The second group never saw your third post. So don't be afraid to repeat yourself and have a message that you send in your social media. Okay, I'm checking my time. I got 10 minutes. Okay. The last thing I really wanted to hone in on, and I'd love to do questions too. So I want to make sure I save some time for that. I use a software called Barn to Door for my sales. It's a very, very beneficial software for farms selling direct to consumer. And the main thing that we use on there is subscriptions. I'm not here to talk about Barn to Door, but I want to talk about the value of adding subscriptions onto your farm. I know Gray's Cart can do it as well, and there's probably a couple other software options that people can use. When I first heard about meat subscriptions, the only thing I knew was ButcherBox, and I thought it was a lazy idea because I had friends that had signed up for ButcherBox, and if they lived in the cities, it was okay, but if they lived in the country, all their meat always came thawed out, and they had to spend an hour on the phone with customer service, and they said it wasn't worth their time. So I'd only really heard a decent amount of negative stuff for subscriptions. But I heard a lot of advisors and marketing folks keep pushing subscriptions over and over and over again, kind of like I am right now. So I ended up giving it a try. And this was early on. Our business is only 5 years old. And so we've had a lot of learning that we've gone on in these last 5 years. And I'm still every single day learning what works, what doesn't work, and how to hone in on the right type of customer. When I first started my subscriptions online, I I had three different ones. I had one that I called the Primo box, one that was the family box, and one that was the kind of a basic level box with, the basic level box had like ground beef and cheap chicken cuts. The family box had bigger cuts. We're talking roasts and slow cookers. And then the Primo box had filet mignon, chicken breast, ribeyes, boneless pork chops. You get the idea. After 6 months, I had two people signed up, and I was so discouraged, and I just couldn't figure out why more people weren't signing up for them. I was marketing them on social media, in my newsletters, and nobody was interested. What I found out after talking to some of my customers is that they were kind of confused. And when this is one of the biggest things I've had to learn with marketing your farm products is when you confuse your customers even a little bit, they give up and they do not pick whatever option you're trying to funnel them down into. They will not choose it. And so we have to become confusion free in our efforts to get our products into the refrigerators of our customers. So what I ended up doing was I made one box that people can get in three different increments. They could get it every week, they could get it every other week, or they could get it once a month. The one box was the kind of cuts that we talked about in the beginning with thinking about our ideal customer. I only made a box for Suburban Sally. She wants chicken breast, ground beef, pork chops, sausage, bacon, chicken thighs, stuff that she can thaw out quickly, whip up. It's not difficult. Steak tips is another really popular one. Things that she can it doesn't take a lot of prep. It's not going to need any curing. It's not going to need any kind of long, elaborate preparations. It's going to be easy stuff. We're talking about like chuck roast that can go in a crock pot, boneless things. Those were selling really well. So I decided to make a subscription and really hone in on those products. This is about 2 years ago. Now we have over 55 subscribers to our boxes. We've got some on weekly, we've got some on bi-weekly, and we have some on monthly. It's very evenly spread across the board. It's mostly based off of family size. I also learned that it's American households are pretty much split up in three different ways: single households, people with two folks in their house, and people with three or more. It's almost 33% as the population goes in America. So I'm finding that those three household sizes are actually relaying into my subscription boxes, and people are finding out how much food they cook each week and how much they need, and they're finding the right box for them. This now has become about 70% of our revenue year over year. We do one farmer's market. We do some home deliveries. We do some quarter cows every now and then. But for the main thing is that we are delivering food to our customers' houses every week or every other week, depending on what box they want. And it really aligns with the way that your customers shop. I've seen a lot of farms struggle with revenue because they're only offering once a month options for like a delivery option. or if they're asking people to come out there to their farm to pick up the food, they're really struggling because a lot of people are very used to things being delivered to them. So I always encourage my farmers, if you can, get a delivery system going. Try to get an online software that will work for you, that's easy to use, it's easy for your customers. And really, really think about subscriptions, because I think this is the way that marketing and food is going to go forward. People are very happy to do the Netflix thing where they sign up one time, they give you their credit card one time, and then from week after week after week, they are charged on their cards. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to do anything. Food just shows up at their house. And it seems like if you can add the convenience to the scenario, if you can add the convenience of subscriptions and home deliveries to your system and to your marketing and sales efforts, that it really, really people see the value in that, and they're willing to pay extra for it, and they're willing to sign up and give you a try.
Cool. Well, that's awesome, Alex. Way to adapt and be able to bring home the message. There's a lot of comments in the chat like this is just what I needed to hear. This is for me. Margot's taking down people's email addresses, and so talk a little bit about well, let's see. Let's do either Facebook page or website contact information to get a hold of you. Or is that are you offering a free 1.5 hour to anyone that signs up, or are you limiting that? Like
I was hoping Margot would figure out how to give it to one person. I don't know, a hat drawing of some sort.
Okay. So we're gonna have to do that. Why don't we do that with Steve Campbell's tomorrow? So Margot, if you want to make note of that, we'll because you might be booked for the next year if we open it up for everybody.
I don't have a website for my consulting work yet. So this is I'm grassroots on my consulting work, and so I didn't know how to make that logistically happen.
Okay. So we'll just connect you with them. We'll just draw one person. Why don't we go ahead and do that right now? So just go ahead. Selena, are you up there? Can you have one of the kids pick? Hopefully she's still available. Yep, she's up there. So go ahead and raise your hand virtually if you would be interested in, I mean, this is a pretty doggone generous offer, like 1.5 hours, and you saw what he did in 1/2 hour. So go ahead and raise your virtual hand if you would be interested in meeting with Alex one-on-one. So we've got, okay, so this is very unbiased. My kids are just going to point. It might be slightly weighted if your video's on. Just a hint.
Yep.
Here, and Selena is going to announce who the winner is. So we're going to give people just another second. So we need to raise your virtual hand if you can figure that out. I know there's some things in the chat going on as well. Okay.
I like that we're doing it this way.
Who's the picker up there? Selena? Are you there?
So my wife can hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now. Who's the one doing well, maybe we shouldn't tell, because then there'll be bad karma towards the ones. No. If you're not the winner, just say I'm really grateful that the other person won because they needed it.
Ben Stevens in the chat.
Okay. So go ahead.
Their hands.
And the kids are very randomly picking who the winner is.
Smile.
Steven,
you guys are awesome. Do you have it? Do you have it on gallery view so you can see everybody? There we go. All right. And 3, 2, 1.
Candy with their video on.
All right. Everybody give Candy a big round of applause. Way to go, Candy.
Congrats, Candy.
Okay. So why don't you guys just share your contact information in the chat here, Candy and Alex, and then we're going to roll on to our next speaker. But thanks, Alex. I appreciate you adapting and making this work. And so again, anybody that wants the slides, just message Margot. We'll get the slides over to you, and pretty awesome opportunity. So Okay,
Thanks for having me, guys. Had a
Alex,
blast.
thank you.